Now is the time for Major League Baseball to look towards the future and expanding into 32 teams. This would balance the American League and National League into 16 teams in each league. And with both leagues playing under the same rule set, it makes a lot of sense both financially and for the game. MLB has never been stronger. Now is the time to look towards expansion. In this video, I'm going to tell you the cities that Major League Baseball needs to expand to for the future. Let's go. For this video, I've got 9 cities we're going to take a look at, 4 in the United States, 2 in Canada, and 3 international cities that I think need to be considered at least in the future, maybe not immediately, but somewhere down the line. Starting off with the 4 American cities, we're going to start it off in Portland, Oregon. I think Portland is a huge fit for Major League Baseball because it really would fit very, very well up there in the Northwest. You have instant rivalries with Seattle and those California teams. It fits very well in the division. I think we need another Western team out there, so Portland makes a lot of sense. When you take a look at Portland, they got 2.5 million people. That is well above the number that is currently in Milwaukee and Kansas City, some of the smaller markets out there. And we've seen some very good teams in Milwaukee, and we've seen the Royals win. So the fact that Portland isn't a huge population, but it's big enough to build a contending team under the current Major League Baseball financial system. And more importantly, out in Portland, they have money. The median income in Portland is more than $78,000. So the people of Portland can certainly financially capable of supporting a team out there. And given the only other big market team from another sport is the Portland Trailblazers, this makes a lot of sense for Major League Baseball to go to Portland and be one of the only 2 big time sports in the area rather than some other cities where they might be competing for more interest and views. To go along with Portland, I know they also have the Portland Diamond Project going on right now. That is a group that is trying to bring a team to Portland and the Northwest. I think they've done a lot of tremendous work. They have a vision for a stadium. They have a vision for outside the stadium as well. They have the idea of building something like they have in Atlanta with the Battery, with building something with an entertainment district, with hotels, with parking, all right in the same area, and really building a full community around the ballpark where people can come to and enjoy the game, not only during the game, but before and after as well. And I think this fits very well. I've personally been to the one in St. Louis. Thought it was a wonderful idea. St. Louis doesn't have the biggest area around the stadium, but there's all these bars and nightclubs and restaurants going on in that area, and it's very entertaining to go and watch a game in that area, and you can explore so much. They have the history of baseball in St. Louis there. They have the museum going on there. They have all these different areas right in the downtown core of the ballpark, and it's really fun and a very entertaining place to watch a game. To go along with Portland, I've actually worked with someone who's been involved with the Portland Diamond Project, and that's Sports Management Worldwide leader, owner, Dr. Lynn Lashbrook. If you don't know his story, go check him out. I've taken a class through Sports Management Worldwide with baseball analytics. It was a ton of fun. Dr. Lashbrook is really passionate about baseball. He really believes that Portland is the type of place that can sustain a Major League franchise, and I'm not one to argue with him. I think Portland would be an excellent choice for Major League Baseball to consider. The second city I think that's in the United States that needs to be considered is Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville has been already brought up in the news with the Nashville Stars having a name already associated with the team, and Don Mattingly is involved in the project as well to bring Nashville a Major League sports franchise. I think this would be a great fit in Major League Baseball to go to the South and fit in Nashville, Tennessee. We've seen some really key markets in Nashville coming there the last few years. The NFL Draft was hosted in Nashville and had a huge venue there and really set up the streets and all the nightlife that goes on in Nashville. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Nashville's got a population of over 2 million as well, so that makes a lot of sense for the income. And the median income in Nashville is above the national average at $61,000 per person in the median income. So this makes a lot of sense financially as well. Again, another place where the people can support another pro sports franchise. Around Nashville, there's a lot of college sports that are going on. You've also got the Tennessee Titans. We've seen the Nashville Predators in the National Hockey League be successful in there. I think Nashville makes a lot of sense for the area. I think it could bring in and generate a lot of revenue. I think it makes a lot of sense to Major League Baseball. And it's kind of a baseball area as well with the college baseball. Very close to the Florida and Georgia, all these states that really push baseball. I think Tennessee is a very good baseball program the last few years at college level. So I think it's very much a passionate baseball area and would fit very well into Major League Baseball. Our third city from the United States would be San Antonio, Texas. The biggest city that I'm suggesting inside the United States, coming in close to 3 million people and much bigger in terms of metropolis. I think San Antonio would be a great fit in Major League Baseball. My only question here is starting to put too many teams in Texas. We've seen the Rangers in Arlington, Texas, the Houston Astros. Does adding a third team in Texas create any impact? We know Texas is passionate about their football. So does adding a third Major League Baseball team in the state, is that going to take away from the Rangers? Does it take away from the Astros? I'd have some concerns there. Again, the median income in Texas is definitely there to support a professional sports team. We've seen San Antonio have a huge following in basketball with the Spurs as well, and they've had a lot of success. They're a very well managed team, and it's a team that's very well supported in the sponsorships as well. So San Antonio has the type of income that would make a lot of sense for a professional sports team, especially a Major League Baseball team. My question is, would be adding a third state to the state of Texas. Is that financially going to fit? And is it going to take away from the other teams? And more importantly, are the Astros and Rangers are going to be accepting of this idea as well? A lot of these teams, when you start to infringe on area, it really doesn't fit well the other teams, and they can veto this. And you have to wonder, do these teams start to look at vetoing San Antonio as a potential marketplace for Major League Baseball if it's going to impact the other teams? But overall, though, with 3.7 million people and a 100-mile radius of San Antonio, there's a lot of people that could put a lot of eyes on the sport of baseball. It makes a lot of sense in that area. But again, the questions are there. And there hasn't been as big a push as San Antonio as I've heard. So maybe it doesn't have the same generating interest as other cities. So that's why it's third on my list in the United States. Fourth city on my list in the United States is Charlotte, North Carolina. The reason why I put Charlotte fourth is because they already have the Charlotte Knights, a very effective AAA baseball team for the Chicago White Sox. So Charlotte has the passion for baseball, but you have to wonder, do you want to put a Major League Sports franchise in a place where AAA baseball already exists? Now, the AAA team could easily enough be moved and put the Major League Baseball team in there, but does it make sense to do that if we already have success in Charlotte in terms of baseball? I don't know if it fits as well in terms of a major market. In terms of Carolina, yes, there are other pro sports franchises. You have the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh, North Carolina. You have the Carolina Panthers there in Charlotte. It doesn't have the same impact, though, that real pizzazz of big market in terms of North Carolina. Again, they're more of a basketball thing in terms of college level. So I don't know if North Carolina and Charlotte really make sense in terms of Major League Baseball for that wow factor of an expansion franchise. But they have the population close to 3 million in terms of metropolis. You've got the median income of the people there, again, over $65,000 per person. So there is a lot of sense, and the weather would fit very well in Charlotte as well. But once again, I don't know if Charlotte is that big enough name in terms of expansion that they look to. Now, just closing out my list here, I did not include Las Vegas. The reason why I never included Las Vegas, the reason why I didn't include Las Vegas, because I think Major League Baseball is looking at Las Vegas as the one and only option for the Oakland Athletics if they are going to move. Now, if the Oakland Athletics don't move, yeah, I'd probably move Las Vegas to one or two on this list. But for now, I'm leaving them off the list until the Oakland situation is settled. It's time to go north of the border where I'm going to consider two teams for Major League Baseball expansion. We'll start out the most obvious one, returning to Montreal with the Montreal Expos. It's been a long time now since the Expos left for Washington. It just makes sense to go back to Montreal. We've seen the success when the Blue Jays have gone there for the preseason games. There's been all kinds of turnout. There's still a strong, passionate fan base for the Montreal Expos. The issue is always going to be a stadium. The Expos would need to build a downtown stadium. Olympic Stadium just does not make sense anymore. It's a crumbling mess. It's not sufficient for baseball. It could work maybe in a short term if they got it fixed up for maybe a year, two, before they build the downtown stadium. But if we're talking expansion, we need the downtown stadium built first before you can ever really receive that full expansion bid. When you look in terms of population, the metropolis of Montreal is almost over 4 million people. The median income is over 82,000 Canadian, which is right around the 60,000 United States, which we've seen for a lot of United States cities we are looking at. Montreal has the history, it has the passion for baseball. There's so much historical aspects, especially with Jackie Robinson breaking in AAA with the Montreal Royals and playing out that league. It would make a lot of sense in terms of bringing an expansion franchise to Montreal and pairing them in a division with the Toronto Blue Jays. You'd have an instant rivalry there. There's all kinds of fan base around with Boston and New York, and being able to travel to Montreal. The one real knock against Montreal, though, is going to be taxes. Quebec has some of the highest taxes provincially in Canada. And this is going to be a real knock in terms of players and being able to attract players to Montreal. Of course, you have the bilingual culture, although Montreal is more English than you're led to believe. The issue, though, is going to be that tax rate. And we see it in the National Hockey League, where players are going to southern, even Canadian players in particular, are going and signing with southern state cities because the state income tax is much, much lower than it is Quebec, where it's approaching nearly 40% of income. So it is very high tax rate. It just doesn't make sense for attracting free agents. You can still develop players and build that way, a la the Tampa Bay Rays and the way the Montreal Expos used to build. But for a long sustained winner, I don't know if Montreal would be the best fit unless they could figure out that situation. Get the downtown stadium, wonderful, but figuring out a way to keep players in Montreal and sustain success for a franchise would be far, far more important to success in the long term. My second Canadian city is going to be very much a curveball. I know, especially you Canadians out there are thinking, well, he's going to say Vancouver. Montreal is Vancouver. No, I actually don't think Vancouver is the best fit here. I think a Western Canadian franchise would fit much better in Calgary, Alberta. And you got to hear me out on this. There is talks of the ability to create a bullet train between Calgary and Edmonton, a trip that could be set down as short as 45 minutes when it's in fact a 3-hour drive. If that exists, I think Calgary would be a much better fit for a professional baseball franchise in Major League Baseball. Calgary's city 1.4 million. If you include Edmonton's 1.3 million, you include the 300,000 or so in Red Deer, Alberta, this starts to become a big metropolis of an idea if they have the technology to create this kind of bullet train idea and can get fans quickly from city to city. Alberta is one of the premier places in terms of this technology. I think Calgary would really, really fit well. The other question would fit then, well, what is the elevation of Calgary? In fact, the elevation in Calgary is less than in Denver, Colorado, about 3,400 feet compared to the 5,280 that's in Denver. So the ball is not going to be impacted in that same way as it is in Denver, maybe to a degree, but not the same way it is in Denver. And what a stadium would look like about northwest Calgary, looking over the Rocky Mountains. What a fantastic stadium they could build in Calgary. Provincial tax is much, much lower in Alberta than it is in Quebec for Montreal. So I think this makes a lot of sense. If Major League Baseball wants to go into Canada, I think Calgary is a better option. They've always been supportive of their sports franchises. The Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League have always been very well supported. The Calgary Flames have been very well supported. If you look to Edmonton, those teams have always been very well supported. Vancouver has had its failures. The British Columbia Lions in the CFL almost left. The Vancouver Grizzlies folded out of the National Basketball Association. This would make a lot of sense to go to Calgary, where the failures have not existed in the past. All kinds of sponsorships, all kinds of oil money in terms of sponsorships. I think Calgary would be an excellent, excellent fit. And the Western Major Baseball League is a very small independent league up here, and it's very well supported across Saskatchewan and Alberta. And you tell me the people in Saskatchewan, where I'm from, aren't going to travel for Major League Baseball to Calgary, Alberta? You bet they are. This would be a fantastic place, and it sets up that East, West, Toronto, Calgary fits very well. They could play in opposite leagues even, but some interleague play. I think it would be a huge plus to Major League Baseball to consider Calgary, Alberta. Our last three cities are going to be international cities that I think Major League Baseball should consider down the line if expansion is not going to happen right now. First one I'm going to look at quickly is Mexico City. Now, I'm not big on Mexico City for one major, major reason, and that's that the elevation is over 7,000 feet, which is pretty much 2,000 feet above what Denver, Colorado is, and we know what the impact of the ball is there. So I don't know if Mexico City makes a lot of sense. Of course, there's always the issue of corruption and greed and all the stigma that goes along with Mexico City in terms of cartels and everything going on. 8.8 million people in Mexico City. The median income is only around 20,000 US dollars. So I don't know if Mexico City makes sense right now. It could in the future if they can figure out how a stadium would play and how they could guarantee player safety. But for right now, I think Mexico City is going to be further down on the list. The next up is San Juan, Puerto Rico. We've seen San Juan used as a place where the Major League Baseball, where the Montreal Expos played some games out of before they relocated to Washington. When you take a look at San Juan, 2.35 million people in San Juan, but the median income is only around 25,000 US dollars per year. I think San Juan is an excellent place in terms of development of baseball and the passion that those fans would bring to the game. But I just don't know if the finances would make sense to bring a team into Puerto Rico until there's some more financial stability in the area. I think there is the opportunity down the line where Major League Baseball could consider Puerto Rico as a long term sports franchise. But for right now, I just don't know if they would make sense. My third international city is the one I'm actually the biggest on right now, and that is Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Take a look at their population, 3.5 million people with a median income of 40,000 US dollars per year. This is an excellent idea, I think, for Major League Baseball. Travel would be the biggest thing between the Dominican Republic and the United States, especially if they have to play games in places like Seattle, like Toronto, where the Dominican Republic distance travel may not make sense for teams. But I think there is a lot of possibilities. And we know that the Dominican is known for baseball. Some of the absolute best of all time have come from the Dominican Republic. I think a team in Santo Domingo would make a lot of sense for Major League Baseball. They could really push the idea of homegrown players coming home to Dominican, representing the Major League sports franchise that is in the Dominican Republic. I think they could be a fantastic sports franchise down the road. Right now, it's probably the closest. The issue would still be stadium and travel. I don't know if it fits entirely with the Major League Baseball plan, but I think it's some place that really does need to be considered and would be an excellent place for Major League Baseball to settle. When it comes right down to it, I think Portland and Nashville, the two furthest along in terms of Major League Baseball expansion, and would make the most sense right now. But down the road, I'd love to see places like Calgary or Santo Domingo be considered. I think it'd be excellent for the game of baseball. Comment down below where you think Major League Baseball should expand to. I always comment back to everybody, so let's have some conversation down there. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of another video. I greatly appreciate all your support here on 3 Up, 2 Down. If you're interested in this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. And I comment back to everybody who comments on one of my videos. If you're looking for something else to go check out my video on finances in Major League Baseball. I think you'd be very surprised at the takes on that. Or go check out some of my YouTube shorts, the 1 minute quick videos that everybody seems to be loving right now. Till next time, take care, everyone.